Hello everyone, welcome to the fifth episode of this year's PAM Masterclass training series. In this episode, we'll be exploring PAM360's contextual integrations. Shruti, your host for the day, and I'm joined by Damo, our in-house product consultant, who will be taking you through this session. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping rules. All attendees' lines are muted by default. If you have any questions during the masterclass, you can leave them in the Q&A panel and we'll take them up after the session. The recording of this episode will be sent to all attendees in a couple of days. Meanwhile, if you have any feedback or question for us, you can mail them to hello-pam360@manageengine.com. Amo, over to you.
Thanks, Shruti. Hey guys, my name is Damo. I'm one of the lead technical consultant from ManageEngine PAM suite of products. The topic which we are going to discuss is about exploring the PAM360's contextual integration. So in PAM360, we integrate with multiple third-party applications like Jira, ServiceNow, and other ITSM tools like BMC Remedy and etc. We also have integrations with our third-party signing authorities like GoDaddy, DigiCert, Let's Encrypt, and much more. We also have integrations with Chef, Puppet, Ansible, and Jenkins as well. So in this topic today, we are going to discuss about we are going to explore the PAM360's contextual integration. Let me quickly run through one by one. We also have some native integrations in place. On today's topic, we're going to take ManageEngine Service Desk Plus as an ITSM tool and see how the integration works. I have picked up three different scenarios on how this integration is going to work. In the last webinar session, we discussed about the importance of doing this integration with AD Manager Plus. If you want to have a look into it, you can follow the registration link or the ManageEngine's YouTube website, where you can find the latest webinar sessions and everything there. So now moving forward, as you see, this PAM360 has got an integration with multiple ManageEngine products itself, like ManageEngine On-Demand product, which is our cloud product. We also have ManageEngine Service Desk Plus MSP edition. We also have ManageEngine Service Desk Plus. Not only this, we also integrate with ServiceNow, Jira, and the BMC Remedy force. Okay, so what is the real problem? Why do we need to go for this integration? So in today's session, we will see how the service desk integration helps the organization to reduce the manual work and also make sure the security is strengthened without revealing the password. The current problem in any environment you take, so any environment which contains a password will have this problem. The problem will be in any environment you take, there will be some user requesting access to a password by writing an email, which gets created as a ticket. So once this ticket is created, it gets assigned to an admin, but the admin has to log in to the PAM portal and provide access to the passwords and also approve the request in ITSM tool, which is going to be a manual process. And using this integration with ManageEngine Service Desk Plus, we are going to have a look at how we are going to manage them. The first thing here is the solution for this can be achieved by integrating ManageEngine PAM360 with the ticketing system integration, which we have in PAM360. So all the user has to do is the user sends an email requesting access permission. The ticket ID is automatically created and it is assigned to an admin user. Here, the next step is the user will receive a ticket ID over an email, and the admin reviews the tickets in the ITSM tool and approves it. Now, the user has the ticket ID which he received over the email. All he needs to do is just supply the ticket ID to get access to the particular mission. When the user supplies the ticket ID in PAM360, we will send the ticket ID to the ITSM tool, which is your Service Desk Plus tool, and validate if it is a valid ticket ID and provides access only if it is a valid ticket ID. Suppose if the user ticket ID is created as number 9, and if the user is trying to provide the number as 10, it is not going to accept the ticket. It is going to throw an error stating that the ticket is not valid. So this is how the ticket validation is going to happen. Once after the validation process, the user get access to the devices for which he wants to do an RDP session. And we have the access control workflow in PAM360, which will revoke the access after the specific period of time. Now let's quickly look into the practical implementation of how we are going to do this inside the PAM360. So on today's session, the first phase would be like talking about the service desk plus integration with ticketing system is the first part. Let me quickly jump into the product and show you how it looks. I have logged into the PAM360 UI to show you how the integration can be configured in PAM360. So all I need to do is navigate to admin, and you can see an option called integrations. Under integrations, I have something called integration, ticketing system. Here, PAM360 provides a range of ticketing systems to automatically validate the service requests related to the privilege access. So either it could be the on-premises service desk plus or an on-cloud service desk plus or an service desk plus MSP solution, or let it be a solution which is not an in-house product. Let it be service desk, ServiceNow, Jira, or BMC Remedy, or let's say there is a software which is not supported out of the box, but still you can have this integrated with ManageEngine PAM360 using the other option. But to do this integration, you need to supply a implementation class here. So we have a help documentation clearly explains how the implementation class has to be created, and other details will be available in our help documentation. And for today's session, we have taken Service Desk Plus as an example, where I'm going to supply to enable this Service Desk Plus integration. All I need to do is provide a technician key, the ticketing system's URL. So how do we do that? So I need to log into the Service Desk portal. So once I log into Service Desk portal, I'm going to generate an API key. To generate the API key, all I need to do is click on the user profile icon and click on Generate API. Here I have an option to generate an API. I have already generated one and I have supplied it here. Meanwhile, I need to supply the ticketing URL of my Service Desk Plus. So this is my ticketing system's URL of my Service Desk Plus, where it is HTTPS followed by the host name of the Service Desk Plus colon the port number, which is the web service port, which is 8080, which I have already added here. Just in case, I do not depend only on the request ID, as we know that Service Desk Plus has got a different modules like a request ID, request module, the change module, and other stuff. I want the change module to be enabled for this user. So by enabling this option, the user has to provide a valid change ID. Only then it is going to accept the ticket, and then it is going to reveal the password to the particular user. So as of now, I haven't enabled it. If I enable this option, I also have an option to record the RDP session inside this particular ticket itself. So I don't want to enable this at this moment. I have already made this integration. So since I've already made this integration, let me quickly show you how this integration works. So I'm going to create I have already created a ticket, and you could see the ticket ID is number 10, right? So whenever I try to retrieve the password, I need to provide this ticket ID. Only then it is going to let me retrieve the password. Let's quickly jump into the product and see if it is allowing me to retrieve a password if I'm going to provide invalid ticket ID. Okay, so I have a user account called admin with some password associated with it, and I'm trying to retrieve the password. So I'm going to provide the ticket ID as 20, and when I click on proceed, you could see there is an error stating that either ticket ID is invalid or validation of ticketing system failed. I need to supply a valid ticket ID, which is the number 10, and then I click on proceed. It lets me retrieve the password, as you see, right? So this is one of the integration using which we can make sure the user has to provide a valid ticket ID. Only then the password is going to get retrieved. We also have few more advanced configuration which you can configure for this ticketing system. All you need to do is click on this three dot icon and click on advanced configuration, where I can configure some criteria for this specific integration. So where I have mentioned it as status is not closed, which means if I'm going to provide a ticket ID which is not in a closed state, I will be able to retrieve the password. Suppose if the ticket ID I'm going to provide is in the closed state, then I cannot retrieve it because I have already mentioned a criteria status is not closed. Either it should be in open state or it should be in progress state. Only then I'll be able to retrieve the passwords. Going back to the PowerPoint presentation. The second thing which I wanted to discuss is about the ManageEngine Service Desk integration. So this is more of the ticketing system integration which we have discussed. The second one is ManageEngine SDP integration. So why do we need this integration? So this integration will let the users to launch the RDP session directly from SDP UI without logging into the PAM UI. Let's quickly have a look at this particular integration. To do this integration, all I need to do is navigate to PAM360 again, and I have to go to ManageEngine, and here I have already enabled this integration. So I can show you how it works. So all I need to do is go to Custom Actions and click on PMP Resources, which will fetch all the resources available in my portal, right? And I'm going to do an RDP session to a particular resource. Let me pick any one of the resources and click on RDP. And it requires a reason. I'm going to say test and click on connect. So once I click on connect, it is going to take me to the session. And as you see that, and I have access to the particular session. So I can just open up a command prompt, do whatever stuff I need inside this particular mission. And this session is going to get recorded, and that would be readily available for an administrator, right? So I can close this session. I can go back to audit tab and go to recorded sessions. All the session which we did to this particular mission will be available here. So if I just do a refresh here, I should see a new session which is launched right now. I can play back the session and see whatever happened during a particular session by using this integration. So as you see here, I have launched a session and then opened a command prompt and then just close the session, right? So all these things will be recorded. So the mouse movements and everything will be available in the particular session. That's the second integration which I wanted to show you in regards to Service Desk Plus. The third one is something which will help you out to create a ticket in SDP if a certificate is about to expire. So let me quickly show you how that works. All I need to do is navigate to Admin tab. Under SSH and SSL configuration, we have something called tickets. The same thing I'm going to do here. I need to enable this option and provide the Service Desk Plus technician key along with the Service Desk Plus URL and have a check mark enabled here. Let me explain what this check mark means. Create tickets for SSL certificate expiry. So if a certificate is about to expire, it is going to create a ticket in your Service Desk portal. Or the certificate which you have has some vulnerability, let's say a poodle vulnerability, or it has some cipher vulnerabilities on it. It is going to raise a ticket and show you that there is some problem with this particular certificate, right? So these three integrations are something which we have taken as an example from Service Desk Plus. This is the first phase of this in our session. And the next problem which any organization would face is due to an hard-coded credential. So always have in mind that whenever you see an hard-coded credential, there should be a big no for it. There is no plain text passwords allowed within an organization, right? So what exactly users do? So let's take an example of a DevOps environment. In a DevOps environment, what they do is, let me quickly show you. So if you take a DevOps pipeline as an example, the DevOps engineer will write a script, and within the script, he will pass on the password. So let's take an example. He has to do some build deployment. To do a build deployment, he has to pass through several mechanisms, right? So it has to run the build, it has to run the automated task, it has to deploy the changes and then execute an automated deployment change. For all these, it requires a credential. What the developers do is they just put these credentials inside a plain text file. So instead of doing this, since we have an integration with Chef, Puppet, Ansible, and Jenkins, PAM360 has an API which can allow you to retrieve the password from PAM360 and pass it on to your Jenkins, Chef, or Puppet, so that for any sort of operation, it retrieves the passwords from PAM360, and then the deployment would be successful in a DevOps pipeline environment. To do this, you need to have either one of these integrations configured in your environment. So in today's session, we have taken an example as Kubernetes as an example to show you how the Kubernetes container platform works in PAM360. Let me quickly jump into Kubernetes resource. So all I need to do is I need to navigate to admin, and under DevOps, I see there is something called container platforms, where we have Kubernetes as an option which can be configured. So this integration is going to help you to fetch the secrets stored in Kubernetes clusters and also manage them from PAM360 interface. You can fetch, manage, and even periodically rotate the secrets obtained from multiple Kubernetes cluster. Through this integration, you can even achieve collaborative management of Kubernetes secrets used in an enterprise. Once the fetched secrets are added to PAM360's repository, you can perform a variety of operations to manage them, such as updating the secrets through the cluster sync, rotating the secret keys, and even enforcing the access control on a Kubernetes resources to provide control access to the sensitive secrets we have here. So all I need to do is I need to click on add here and download the YAML file. That's the first step of adding a Kubernetes cluster here. The first step is to click on the download button here and download the YAML file. Once the YAML file is downloaded, you have to move this YAML file to the machine where the Kubernetes is running and then execute this particular command. So once you execute this command, a new service token will get created, which will make a communication between PAM360 and the master node in your cluster data, in your Kubernetes cluster. The service token is created, but I need the service token in order to do this integration, right? So I need to execute this particular command, which will help me to fetch the service account token from your Kubernetes cluster. So I need to download this YAML file. Only then it is going to take me to the screen where I need to type in my cluster name, the host name, and the port number along with the service account token, which I have retrieved in the previous option. So once I click on test, the integration will fetch the secrets available here, and then I need to map the secrets to the resource. So the resource will get created with the name, whatever we have provided in the namespace. So once I click on it, I could see the list of user accounts which were onboarded from the cluster environment. So now here the user account will not directly contain a password. Instead, it will contain a JSON file. Inside this JSON file, the passwords will be available. So how do we retrieve or how do we change this password? So just make a note that the password reset operation triggered through the map resource will change all the secrets mapped to it, and the changes will reflect in the Kubernetes server. Let me quickly show you an example of any one of the resource. Let me pick the same resource which we are using it now and go to account actions, and here there is an option called associate secrets. I need to map the secrets here. So let's say name one, and then I want admin username, and then I'm going to click on map. Now the secrets are mapped, and I'm going to click on save. So once I click on save and then I try to change a password, the password will get automatically changed in the Kubernetes cluster. So if I go back to this Kubernetes resource, the password will be changed in the JSON file. Since we have integrated with that Windows, since we have mapped the mapped those namespace particular resources, right? So this is one of the integration which we would like to show you. Last but not least, we would also like to show you the integrations with the REST API functionalities which ManageEngine PAM360 offers. I have few curl commands which I have already created just to show you guys. So I'm going to paste in this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to retrieve a particular resource ID of a particular resource ID. I mean, a particular resource. And as you see this curl command will let me to retrieve the account ID and the resource ID of this particular resource called testcomp-1. Now I would like to retrieve the password. Okay, to retrieve the password, I have another curl command using which I can retrieve the password. All right, give me one moment. Right click, copy. Okay, so here I have to pass on the resource ID here, which is sorry, the account ID, which is 3082, and then the resource ID is passed here, which is 610, right? And then I need to provide the auth token. So auth token is nothing but the API user. Whenever you create an API user in PAM360, you will have an auth token that has to be specified here. And once I hit enter, as you see, it has fetched the password, right? So I should be able to fetch the password using this API. And even I will be able to change the password using the API functionality available in PAM360. So to change the password, all I need to do is execute this particular and hit enter. So now the password change has failed because the password cannot be same as last 10 password. So I'm going to change a new password here. And you see the password change is successful. Now, if I navigate inside the product and if I look at for this particular resource, I could see the new password, but I need to provide the ticket ID again. As you see, the new password has been updated here. So this is how you can also write a script. So I did it manually to show you that there is an option to retrieve the password, change the password, and also to get the resource ID and an account ID. Usually what developers do is they'll write a script with the list of API commands. The first one is to retrieve the uh, resource ID and account ID with the information, whatever it got. They will pass it on to the next one, which is to change the password for the particular resource with the password policy available in PAM360 itself. So doing this, you can make sure that there is no hard-coded credentials in your environment. And this integration will help you out to make sure that the passwords are properly shared across your organization. So with this, we have come to the end of this session. So let me quickly recap whatever we have discussed till now. So we have integrated PAM360 with the ITSM tool and seen three different scenarios. Integrating with the ticketing system, where I need to supply a ticket ID, only then I will be able to retrieve a password. We have also seen the ManageEngine integration, which lets me to launch a connection, launch an RDP session or an SSH session directly from the SDP UI. And we have also seen how to create a ticket if a certificate is about to expire, right? Then we have also seen the Kubernetes platform, how the credentials are managed under Kubernetes cluster platform. We have also seen the application to application password management using the REST API functionality available in PAM360. So today we have explored the power of seamless integrations and their and their potentials to transform the way we work and interact with the digital ecosystem. And this is the time for question and answers. If you have any questions or queries, feel free to write it us to hello-pam360 at manageengine.com. Or if you have any questions on this session, feel free to raise them on the Q&A panel and we will be glad to assist. I see that there is a question raised by Bhavesh stating that root password of SQL, how can we secure? Okay, so if you take an SQL resource, all you need to do is first you need to add the SQL resource inside PAM360. So let's take an example. This one is a particular resource. I'm going to make this as an MS SQL resource just to show you. MS SQL and click on save. So I have an MS SQL resource added here. made it as MySQL. One moment. So if you have any accounts added, so let's say you have some sysadmin account in your SQL. So all you need to do is onboard that account here and share it to the user who needs access to it. You can also configure access control functionality for it. So using this access control functionality, you can make sure though the account is shared to a user, they have to go through the approval mechanism. So let's say I have configured as an admin, as an authorized admin. If the user needs access to a particular resource, they have to request me for access, and only upon the approval, the user will be able to retrieve the password. So by doing this way, you can make sure the passwords are completely secured by configuring access control in your environment. Thank you. Shruti, I guess no one has any other questions, so we can end this session. Thanks, Bhavesh, for raising the question. If you have guys any questions, feel free to raise them and using hello-pam360 at manageengine.com. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for joining the session.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.